have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world when you hit that play button. Welcome in, welcome in. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna coming at you with another episode of the Genesis Frequency. And I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. Reach out to me. Successappointment.com is my calendar, not a website, just a calendar to reach out and have a conversation about bringing personal development into your life, leadership development into your life, leadership development into your organization, your small business, your ministry, your corporation, your company, whatever it may be. Let's talk about it. It's what I do, and I love doing it. I love helping people move the needle and make a quantum leap in the direction of the life they would love to live. Whether it's professionally or personally, we look at every area of your life and say, hey, where do we have to move the needle? Where am I stuck? Where is my business stuck? What do I have to do to make this shift from the old ways that keep me stuck? And we have personal paradigms, we have corporate paradigms, we have cultural paradigms. That's the work I do. Let's move on here. We're going to talk about the structure behind success. We just got done with a three-part series talking about soft skills. Reach out if you want to do a workshop on that or dive deeper into any of those elements, topics with me. One day workshop, those are really powerful too. And it's a great way to experience what I do and perhaps explore a deeper dive into one of my multi-week 6, 8, 12-week programs. So today this is a new one. I am going to be talking a little about something that's coming up in a couple weeks. But today we're going to talk about the structure behind success. Why most people stay busy but don't move forward. And we're seeing more and more and more of that. That's why this work that I do and that I do with Leadership Management International as a franchisee is so important. My company, Success Ocean International, facilitating all kinds of programs to help individuals and companies really improve, really develop leaders, develop the individual into being a better leader of their own lives as well. So, is this you? Can you see yourself? Do we stay busy but not move forward? Because it's easy to do, isn't it? Man, I was busy all day. Where did the time go? Right? Where did the time go? But if we were honest with ourselves and push back a little bit and we start to notice the rabbit holes we went down, right? And I am guilty as charged. So often what I'm talking about is something that I need to refocus myself on. And this is one of them because it's so easy to do. All right, we start to be disciplined, but we're creatures of habit. We're going, well, I'm not going to check my email till noon. I'll check it first thing in the morning before I get started. Maybe while I'm getting ready during the day, I check it on my phone. Anything important there? Okay, no, all that can wait. Then I'll check it at noon or during my planning time that I got blocked out in my calendar. But it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole with the way we're bombarded with content and information. We go looking for, who was that? I'm supposed to call back today. They left a message over the weekend. So we go looking for that email. They said they left me an email. Well, when we're in that email, we get something else grabs our attention. What's this? I didn't see that yesterday. So we open that. And it's like, "Oh, I don't want that," but we click on something in there that takes us to a website. Now that's interesting, right? And then before we know it, the ads are popping in. "Oh, I haven't seen that before." And then you know it, an hour's gone. This is why we have to be disciplined with our time. We have to really pay attention to our performance and our productivity. And are we just being busy, right? With our time, with our hours, with our days, or are we actually moving the needle? So we want to talk about that. And today I want to talk about, I deeply believe in this. So I know this probably resonates with just about everybody I talk to. So if you're listening to this show, I know it's got to resonate with you because when it comes right down to it, this is not about motivation. This is not about inspiration. This is something really about something much more practical and much more powerful. So, today we're going to talk about why so many capable, intelligent, driven people stay busy but don't actually move forward. So, we can call this the hidden frustration. If you're honest, you probably already know, and I talk about the knowing doing gap a lot, but you probably already know what you should be doing, right? I think at some level we all know. I know I should be doing that, right? You have goals, you have ideas, you have intentions, but there's this gap. We all have it. A gap between knowing and doing. And if you go to the website for this show, the genesisfrequency.com, I know a lot of you, most of you listen to it on your favorite place you get podcasts, but if you would go to the episode tabs on the genesisfrequency.com and you just type in knowing doing gap. There's quite a few episodes just on this topic. But that gap between knowing and doing, between planning and executing, between potential and results, right? And that gap is where frustration lives. Because it's not that you're not capable, it's that something is missing. And here's the truth that most people don't realize. Success is not always about working harder. It's about working with structure. That's why I love the My Time Success Planner that I use and have been using and really been using a version of it for years and years and years and years and sitting down with it and structuring my days. And my days are structured so they're all bite-sized pieces being accomplished of the bigger goal that I want to achieve. Because you know what? Without structure, even the most talented person becomes inconsistent. Even the most motivated person loses focus. Even the most driven person gets pulled into distractions. We all do it, all of us. And over time, that creates a pattern, a habitual pattern. Busy, but not productive. Active, but not advancing. So let's look at the framework because we're going to, and when I say we're, myself, my company, Tanae and I, we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to start in I think it's 2 or 3 weeks from when this podcast is coming out. And it doesn't matter. These are rolling over all the time. So I'm not going to date this podcast by throwing a date out there because effective personal productivity is a program we run over and over and over again. And it's just been redone. It's been revamped and reworked. It's cutting edge. It's world class. It's available in over 100 countries in 33 different languages. So no matter where you are, and I know I have a lot of listeners in Northern Europe and a ton of listeners in Brazil. Yes, it's available in Spanish. It's available in Brazilian Portuguese, regular Portuguese, whatever you want. So, reach out because this is rolling over all the time. So, I'm going to just introduce you to the framework. Over the years, I have worked with, and we're still talking about productivity here, right? I've worked with individuals and organizations who all face the same challenge that I'm talking about right now in this podcast. And what I found is this: there are specific principles, specific disciplines that, when applied consistently, they change everything, not overnight, but systematically, predictively, powerfully. And I want to walk you through a few of those today. So, in this program coming up, Effective Personal Productivity, and I've talked a little bit about it before because it's a core program. It's where I really love to start everyone. And even coming into the company, if somebody's going to come on board with us as a facilitator or focus on development, we start with this. It's so important. And the nature of productivity is really the first lesson in the program. That's what it's titled anyway. And it's really where we start with something foundational because most people I found misunderstand productivity. They think productivity means doing more, getting more done, right? Staying busy. I was busy all day, got a lot done. But true productivity is about something else entirely. It's about doing what matters most. And man, is there a big difference because years ago when I went through this and now going through the newer one, man, this is key. It's about doing what matters most. I can be busy all day. I can be productive all day. This has to be done. This has to be done. But I can delegate a lot of that too. But what matters most? What matters most is talking to you, talking to people that I can have an impact and influence in helping them change their lives. What matters most to you? Because not all activities are equal. Some activities produce results. Others simply consume time. And one of the most important shifts a person can make is identifying what we call high payoff activities. Think about it. The things that actually move your life forward. And equally important, examining your attitudes, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, everything that makes up an attitude, to examine that, because your attitude toward planning, your attitude toward time, toward yourself, toward other people, all of that, the sum total of all that will determine your level of productivity more than any tool ever will. Remember that. Then we talk about productivity through goal achievement. So once you understand productivity, the next step is direction, because effort without direction most often leads to frustration. And this is where goal setting becomes powerful. Powerful, I'm sorry. But not just vague goals. People do that. Well, do you have a goal? And most people don't, believe it or not. Almost everybody I talk to, they don't really know what they want. They got a vague idea. They have no goal. And if they do have a goal, it's not written down anywhere. One of the most powerful things you can do is write your goal down clearly in the present tense. Write it down, carry it with you at all times. But most people don't have that, just have some vague goals. Often there's something that was scribbled on a bar napkin at midnight, New Year's Eve, half in the bag. Right. I'm going to do this next year, and I'm going to resolve not to do that, you know? So, no, I know that's not you, not a listener to this show, right? But really our goals can't be vague. And I want everybody to think about a big dream goal. Not I want to do better. That's not a goal. Not I want to improve. I mean precise, clear, written, defined goals. Did you know my company is the copyright holder for SMART goals? Yeah, we can talk about that because something happens when we define our goals, when we write them down. I've been writing them down, carrying them on a little card I have in my wallet, got from Bob Proctor, Mr. Bob Proctor. Yes, the Bob Proctor. And I carry it with me. When you write it down, it becomes real. This is it. This is this is what I'm working towards, but this is who I am now. I am everything that is in this goal. I am that I am. See, it's be, do, have. We have to move into the energy of it. And we can even flip that script. When we write it down in the present tense, we are in the having energy, right? And it's very powerful. But when we write it down, it becomes real, it becomes measurable. We can say, hey, am I moving the needle? We track it in our My Time Success Planner. I'll get you one of those too. It becomes something that your mind can organize around. And if it is one of the the great big goals that maybe you finally took down off the shelf, a lot of people do that. They have a great big goal they wanted to do in their lifetime, and then life got in the way. They put it up on the shelf. They haven't taken it down and dusted it off in years. But now you're listening to the show and you're considering, hey, maybe this is possible for me because it's still gnawing at me as longing and discontent. So we take that down and we break it down and we chunk it down and we put it in the SMART goal format. And if you think you know what SMART goals are, maybe you don't, because there's a framework there that not many people are familiar about or take a deep enough dive into it. So we can talk about that. But we want to take this goal, we wrote it down, it becomes real, it becomes measurable. Your mind can organize around. And when you combine all of that with visualization, with affirmation, and consistent tracking, we do all this in the success planner, you begin to see progress. You can see it in front of your face, not occasionally, but consistently, measurably. So then within the program, we move to lesson 3. We get clear on all this stuff. And in 3, we talk about productivity through clear priorities. And here's, I'll be honest, here's where most people struggle. Priorities, because everything feels important. It does. And it probably is. But everything feels important. Everything demands attention. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. This is important too. But without a system, you end up reacting instead of leading your time. Remember, when I talk about leadership, if it's with me, I'm not just talking about you got to have a group of people under you to be a leader. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about leading your own life in the most efficient and effective way. So, do we want to react or we want to lead our time? So, this lesson here that we move into is about taking control, learning to schedule your priorities, learning to eliminate distractions. Yes, we can do that. Learning to manage interruptions and protect your focus, because that's what we have to do. We all have the 24 hours in the day, right? So we got to, hey, what am I focusing on? Because if you don't control your time, something else will, right? Create that fast, something else will move right in, and it usually won't be aligned with your goals. So we get clear on all that. Then we move to lesson 4, increasing performance through personal development. Leadership development is all about personal development. It really is foundational. So we move deeper because productivity is not just about tasks. It's about the person doing the work. That's you. It's me. This is where personal growth becomes essential. It's woven into everything that we do, everything that I do. Continuous learning, adaptability, asking better questions, listening more effectively, improving how you think, how you respond, how you show up, because your level of performance will always reflect your level of development. Now, as you're listening here to me today, I want you to think about, hey, can the other individuals within my organization benefit from all of this, becoming better at all of this, because this is the entry program I take to companies and corporations all over the world. I mean, Bank of America, Boeing, Delta, on and on, Budget Rental Car, Hertz Rental. I mean, on and on and on it goes. But it doesn't matter how big your company is. You can be a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, small mom and pop shop, retail store, a small ministry, a large corporate size ministry. It doesn't matter. We're all made up of individuals, right? And we have to work and develop these skills. Lesson 5 is about empowering the team. That's why I wanted to bring that up. Hey, look around. Can can this organization benefit from this type of development, leadership development and training? So, for those of you who do lead others, the empowerment really becomes even more important because success is no longer just about you and your day. It's about your ability to empower others, to delegate effectively. And when I'll tell you what, when we are starting to manage our priorities efficiently and effectively, you're going to have to start probably delegating anyway. Where's this going to? What assistant? Where can I get help with this task that is not what really matters most, but it's important. It's not just about us. It's seeing that in others and empowering them to own it. So we want to learn to delegate effectively, to communicate clearly, to develop people, to see their strengths, to see them, right? To create ownership, like I said, because when people feel empowered, man, they perform differently. Think about that. Think when you felt empowered, when you felt seen, when you were giving this and here, own it, get it done. I know that you're the best fit for this, right? You perform differently, think differently, engage differently, and everything begins to elevate. That's what this is all about. Elevating yourself, elevating the whole team, making that quantum leap. These are the elements of successfully making those quantum leaps in the direction of what you want to achieve in your life and in your organization. And then lesson 6 in this particular program that we have coming up is about increasing team productivity. And and so that's the really the final lesson. And we expand all of this into the team environment because true productivity is not individual. It's collective, especially when we're looking at this within a ministry, an organization, a corporation, even a small business. This is about creating a learning environment, shared goals, effective communication, efficient systems, and really a culturing, feeding that culture, a culture of positive expectancy, that always on knowing that we have this field of infinite potentiality that we can all tap into. Make make this shift in culture and watch your world and your organization change. Most people have no clue how to impact culture. It's always been like this. It's the energy people feel when they walk in the doors, and we just don't know how to change. Let me come in there and talk to you about this. A culture of positive expectancy changes everything. Where people don't just work, they grow, they collaborate, they succeed together. So I really want you to move into the realization of all this that I'm sharing with you today. And this is just in a brief 25-minute podcast, and there's tremendous value just within this. So make no mistake about it. Just because you're getting this information for free, don't make the mistake of thinking there's no value here, because there's tremendous value here. You'd probably do need to go deeper into all this, but if you would step back and look at all of this, you'll begin to see something clearly. All of this is not random. This is not guesswork. This is a system, a structure, a way of operating that produces results consistently. And here's the key: most people don't fail because they lack ability. Mm-mm. They fail because they lack the structure and the support, and sometimes even accountability. Right? I think that's important. That's built into our triangle of agreement, built into every program we facilitate. Only ones that I know of that do that in this way. So we're held accountable, and we have to make applications to the work that we're doing and take actions in the direction of our goals each and every week. So let me throw this out there just as a gentle invitation. Let me say this. If you've been listening to this, okay, and you've been thinking, that's exactly what I need, it's a no brainer. Don't just let this be another podcast you heard. Now, I've talked to a lot of you that have identified and told me one of your biggest stumbling blocks is procrastination. You know who you are. In fact, I probably left a message for you this last week. Now you really know who you are, right? But don't let this be just another episode, right? Take a step, have a conversation, explore what this could look like in your life. Because knowing what to do is not the same as doing it consistently. And sometimes the difference between where you are and where you want to be is simply having the right system and the right support. Let's get you plugged in. Even if you, hey, I can't, I'm going on vacation, I'm going on cruise, it's my anniversary coming. Even if you can't, or you got another excuse that you can't dive into a 6-8 week program right away. It's really a 6 week program, and I do a goals workshop and an orientation, so we make it kind of 8 because I like to get you the My Time Success Planner and do an orientation around that. But, if nothing else, reach out. Let's get you a success planner. There is a movement back to paper, hard copy planners because something happens when we write things down rather than typing it into some kind of digital organizer. Yeah, calendars are fine. Digital calendars are fine. I use a couple of them. But a success planner is a totally different thing. We plan our success and then we break it down systematically. And you want the right support, they're doing it. So at least get started with a planner. Let's get you that. Reach out. Let's talk about that. So I want to thank you for, we're out of time for today. I want to thank you for joining this episode. As with all of them, go back in and listen. Make some notes. It's the repetition that causes the retention. Everything I do is about repetition. And always remember, you don't need more information. You need to start applying this and taking action in your life because what you need alignment, you need structure, and you need consistent action. And when those come together, everything changes. Let me help you be that instrument of change. Let me help you see the blind spots, facilitating either you as an individual, and we have individuals signing up for this next personal productivity program coming up. So you're not alone. Just don't think, well, if I can't get 5, 6 people from my organization, I don't want to do it right now. You come in as an individual. Let's start applying. No more procrastinating. Let's do this thing. So that's going to do it. Thank you for listening to the Genesis Frequency podcast. Reach out to me again. That's successappointment.com. We're redoing our website, but there's a couple of forms on there, structure that you can fill out. Tell me more about your situation. Schedule time with me at successappointment.com or go to successocean.com. Use some of the tools in there. We'll be redoing the website very soon, but you can get in there and get started and take a look around. You can also go to lmi-usa.com and have a deeper look into some of the elements we have in all the work that we do. But reach out and let's have that conversation. It all starts with that. Okay. And then if you're looking to to step in this wonderful world of personal development, leadership development, self growth, professional growth, all of that, reach out. Let's talk about it. That's going to do it. You've been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast with Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.